Tip number 3. What's going on, guys, and welcome to 5 tips to improve as a beginner artist. Disclaimer, guys, I'm also still learning, and these are 5 tips that I have found helpful personally on my journey as well, and I can't wait to share them with you guys so you can improve along with me. As artists, we are constantly learning and constantly trying to add to our memory banks. So hopefully these 5 tips will help you do just that. Tip number 1. My first tip for you guys is a very basic one, and that is to draw with your whole arm and not your wrist. You'd be surprised how many people draw with their wrist, but it is so bad for you. It is going to do so much damage to your wrist in the long run, so always remember to draw with your whole arm or your fingers, and never ever draw with your wrist. Just don't do it. Just trust me on that, alright? I know what I'm talking about. Tip number 2. So tip number 2 is to use your sketchbook. Guys, I don't care that we are digital artists, always go back to the sketchbook. It is such a great tool. I have found it incredibly useful for practicing and drawing on the go. I take my sketchbook with me literally everywhere, and it's great for practicing different things we need to get better at. For me, I always struggle with drawing hands, especially stylized ones, so I'm constantly using my sketchbook to practice drawing hands, but you can do it to practice anything. So don't feel just because you're a digital artist you can't go back to some traditional ways with your sketchbook. Please remember to use one. It is great. It is an amazing tool, and that's what they're there for. Tip number 3. So for tip number 3, I'm going to give some basic advice on some composition rules. I'm going to be using an example from my own work and a couple examples from some other artists' work that I love. So as we're looking at my own piece here for composition, here's my newest piece, and as you can see where the focal point is of this piece, it's obviously her face, and how I designed it with the composition in mind, and as well as the reference photo, I used her arms as well as her torso to frame where I want your eye to be looking, right? I want your eye to be looking at her face, and all these ideas around it kind of point to it almost like arrows, right? For your brain, so you focus directly on the center of the image where I want you to look. Another good way of using composition is the rule of thirds. This is often used in a lot of pieces, and I have used it in the past as well. So as you can see from my older piece here, I have a grid kind of sectioned out so you can see how the rule of thirds works. Basically, you have 4 points that are key points for your brain, and you want to place objects on those points. So as you can see here, I've got the face on one of those intersections as well as the hand and flower on the other. These are the 2 places I want you to focus on. I want the viewer to focus on. So I'm drawing your attention to them in an interesting way. That's what the rule of thirds does. Here's another example from an amazing artist, Ross Draws. As you can see in the top right intersection, we've got her face, right, which is obviously a key focal point in almost any piece with a character. But in this bottom left intersection, we can see a couple of the items on the desk and what she's doing, the action she is doing, which is where you want your brain to focus on as well, where you want the viewer to look. And these are 2 key points of the piece, and that's why they fill in to the rule of thirds. Tip number 4. My 4th tip is going to be to keep in mind some color theory. Now, I know that color theory is a very difficult subject, and I get it, but for this video, I'm talking specifically on cool and warm tones. This is one of the basic parts of color theory. Here's an example from one of my favorite artists, LotusBubble, and what you can see here that she does is she has the background in a nice cool color here, but that is contrasting the foreground and the part of the piece that she wants you to focus on, which is in warm tones, and they bounce off each other extremely well. Here's another example used beautifully by SamDoesArts here at a campfire scene, and what you can see is the background as well as part of the top of her head is all in cool tones, right? But where the fire is hitting the bottom part, where the marshmallow is about to go into her mouth, these are all warm tones, and it does a great job of giving you the focal point of the entire piece, right, where she's eating the marshmallow. But it also contrasts each other very well, which gives an intrigue to the piece. Color theory is so great in this way, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. One bonus tip that I have said a million times in my other videos, but I'm going to say it again. Please use references. I promise it is okay, and people, if they judge you, they're wrong, all right? Use references. They're so useful. Just please do it for art studies or just for poses and lighting. Please use references. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's a great tool for you. And the actual final tip is to draw what you love. Draw what you love. If you love drawing portraits, draw portraits. Keep drawing portraits until you've gotten so good at them. If you love drawing environments, draw crazy environments, do that. But the more you draw the things you love, the more you're gonna love drawing. And at the end of the day, we wanna do things that we love. We want art to be something that we are passionate about and love to do every day. You don't have to push yourself right away to do things that you don't like to do. Master what you love to do first. The stuff you don't like to do can come later, I promise. Don't listen to people if they criticize what you love to draw it, all right? Just do it. Put pen to paper, or pen to tablet. So those are 5 tips that I hope can help improve your art as a beginner. And I have used these tips in my own art, and I continue to use them in my own art as I continue to learn as well. I hope you found these tips helpful, as that is the main thing I want to do with my channel, is help aspiring artists and beginner artists and people learning just like myself. If you guys like the video, I post a video every Thursday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so stay tuned for my next one if you want to see it. But anyways, thank you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.